joined by Lewis and Clark men's and women's crew coach Sam Taylor. Coach, first off, let's start with your first race of the spring, the Lager Invitational. Yeah. You beat Pacific Lutheran for the first time in a while, also defeated UPS, a tremendous start to the season. How did that maybe change the mindset of your student athletes and maybe even your mindset a little bit of where you were and where the competition was at that point in the season?
Yeah, no, I think we've had great energy with the team all year, going back to the fall and over winter training. I think they've been putting in a lot of time and a lot of energy, a lot of kilometers into the training, and I think it was a confirmation that it was working. I think you can tell the team as much as you want that everything is going well, but to actually have it on the race course, and they can see that the hard work pays off. They can see that they are going fast and they are competing well. I think that really it increased the buy-in exponentially. That they had already been buying into what we were doing, and then they were suddenly fully engaged. I know some of the workouts after that were some of the better ones we've seen, just because they were so ready to try to take the next step.
Everything hasn't been smooth water since. You've had some injuries, and also that's certainly going to impact the emotional and the mental when you're facing those same teams. A small loss to UPS at your home regatta. How much of the focus has been not only getting your student athletes healthy and ready for this regatta, but also kind of mentally keeping them steady, knowing that some of those bumps along the road do not mean that it's going to be a negative finish as you head into the NWCs.
Yeah, no, we had some unfortunate injuries that were not athletically related right before our own invitational, and that definitely affected our performance and affected our training for the weeks afterwards. I think the good news is we've been back at full strength the last couple of weeks. We've had some really great practices, and I think one of our core philosophies is focus on the process and not on the outcome. So I think that when we've been talking to our athletes, we're just talking a lot about that process, right? How do we execute the workout better? How do we execute the drill and execute our technique better? How do we stay focused internally? In the end, rowing is not an offense sport, or not a defense sport. Excuse me. You can't affect the other team. You can only affect yourself. So we're trying to stay very internally focused and produce the best races that we can at the end of the year.
How do you mentally go into the NWCs? It's one of the biggest regattas and we're on your schedule every season, and obviously you want to get the best possible results. So what's kind of the message to the men's and women's team this week in terms of getting them ready? You've got quite a few student athletes who will be participating in that first championship regatta, and some student athletes who really, really want those big wins, and sometimes that can almost be a negative because they're pressing too hard.
Yeah, no, I just sent a post to the team about relaxation and getting your best performance comes when you're confident and relaxed. And I think, we talk to the team from September. We talk about trying to achieve our best performances at the end of the year, and I think a big part of that is instilling confidence, and it is leaning into what we know works, right? So I think that what we've seen the last 2 weeks has really been a reinforcement of that they've been having better workouts, they've been having better rows. We had a pretty challenging race at Covered Bridge with weather and some other things, and had a really good talk with the team afterwards about, hey, the outcomes of the big races are going to be determined by our ability to show up the next 2 weeks, and they've done that, and I think that will show hopefully in the results, but more importantly it's showed up in the process, and that's what we try to focus on.
Start with the men's team. Can you kind of preview the races this weekend? No traditional Rainier Cup, but you will get to face Oregon State's 1v8, and then some races against Puget Sound in the fours. Yeah,
it actually won't be Oregon State's Varsity 8, which is probably a good thing for us. But it was very nice of them, very awesome that they wanted to send up some of their men's team to race our boats. So it'll be a dual race against Oregon State in the 8, and then we'll break down into some 4s, race against 3 Oregon State 4s, as well as the 4 from University of Puget Sound. I think, our guys are in a good place. I think we've set some goals in the 8 that we're trying to strive for. We haven't had as much racing as we would like for weather conditions, and just it seems like our race schedule didn't line up as well as it has in years past, but I think the guys are really committed to the project. They are focused on getting that 8 to go as fast as we can, and I think this weekend is really about putting down a good piece and setting ourselves up for the Weir Regatta, where we should have a pretty competitive field of a lot of the West Coast schools.
On the women's side, the two big races are early, the 2v8 and the 1v8. What do you see? How do you see the matchups kind of breaking down? Just two boats in the 2v8, same as last year, and then all four teams in the 1v8. What's kind of the keys for your boats to have success?
Well, I mean, I think the key is to execute our race in the way we know we can. I think that we feel a lot of confidence in both of those crews. I think they've been rowing. We were just out this morning on the river. It was cold and gritty and windy, and they were both rowing really, really well. So I think that we feel like we're primed and ready. I think that the races in the end come down to you got to row 2,000 meters faster than the other people. It's not rocket science, but so for us, it is very much trying to stay in our boat and stay in our lane. And stay really firmly focused on that execution piece. So I think, in the end, we certainly hope our bows come across in front, but we also know that if our kids come off the water and they feel they've done the best piece they can do, we've done our job.
What would it mean to win the Northwest Conference Championship on the women's side? It would be the first in program history.
Yeah, it's interesting because the Northwest Conference has only been around since, I think, 2015. But we actually did win the Northwest Collegiate Rowing Conference, which was its predecessor way back when. But it would be a big deal for our women's team. I think that we try not to focus too much on that outcome, right? Focus more on the process. But it would certainly be that confidence boost, much like that first regatta was, that what we are doing is working. And I think they've been seeing that in practice, and certainly we hope they can see the same thing at the race day.